Now Hermione and Harry are talking about how Harry hasn't solved the egg puzzle yet, and, as luck would have it, Cedric comes by and gives him a clue about how to solve it. Just really convenient that it comes right after Harry was saying he didn't know what to do. Cedric says that he should take the egg for a bath. So, Harry does. And this bathroom set is fantastic. Very straight men would love to have this bathroom. And I am one of them. I also really like the stained glass mermaid. She looks like a combo of the Disney mermaid and the version that we're going to be given later. So it's visual foreshadowing in a way. Moaning Myrtle enters for the first time since movie 2 and tells Harry that she saw a polyjuice potion in a drain and wonders if Harry's making it again. He says no, and she tells him to put the egg in the water because that's what Cedric did. He does, and the shrieking turns into a mermaid song. I think that this is something that Rowling made up, but I like it. It's clever. Mermaid singing sounds like horrible noise unless it's underwater. That makes sense in a way. While this is happening, Myrtle appears to be trying to seduce Harry. Many have pointed out that it's kind of creepy because the actress was almost 40 and Radcliffe was, as I said earlier, 14 or 15 at the time. But I'm personally able to separate in my head that Myrtle isn't that age, so I found the scene funny. However, this isn't Myrtle. She was hyper-emotional, prone to weeping, and takes everything the wrong way. She is not randy as a March hare or one to take joy in making someone uncomfortable. And that's not Book Myrtle, that's Chamber of Secrets Moving Myrtle. The egg sings a song that says something will be taken from Harry and he'll have to go into the Black Lake to get it back. The hard part is that means he'll have to figure out a way to hold his breath for over an hour. They do make a change, but we'll get into that later. So now the trio are in the library trying to figure out how to stay underwater for an hour, and they're coming up blank. Moody arrives and says that McGonagall needs to speak to Hermione and Ron and tells Neville to help Harry put the books away. Neville starts talking about plants, but Harry's annoyed because he just needs a way to hold his breath. So Neville suggests gillyweed. I'm bothered by this because later we are told that Moody gave him the book that told him about gillyweed. So this could have been a moment to have a clue. Clue? But where Neville learned about gillyweed is never mentioned. So it's not a clue. The next day, everyone's getting ready to watch the second task, and look, more Ginny personality.
The floor come up. Don't be so mean.
Neville gives Harry the gillyweed stuff, and why does it look like CGI? You couldn't give him a blob of spinach or something? Hermione and Ron are missing, and Harry wishes they were there so he could talk to them before it starts. The task starts.
You may begin at the sound of the cannon.
Early. I'm not acting, this really does annoy me. Harry eats the gillyweed and goes into the water. The gillyweed gives him gills and webbed feet and hands. He swims way down into the water. Something grabs Fleur. Spooky. Harry finds Ron, Hermione, Cho, and a little girl who resembles Fleur tied to the ground under the water. He cuts Ron loose, and then Cedric arrives and cuts Cho loose to bring her to the surface. Harry tries to cut Hermione loose, but the mermaids don't let him. Then Crumb with a shark head arrives and cuts Hermione loose and takes her to the surface. Harry waits for Fleur, doesn't see her, and decides to take the little girl too, and the mermaids don't stop him this time because plot, I guess. Cedric and Cho break the surface, and Dumbledore and Barty decide to go down to the waterline. For some reason, we need to see them make that decision and watch it happen. Harry swims the pair up when some little sea monsters start to attack him and the gillyweed starts to wear off. So he heaves the two to the surface and then fights off the monsters. Ron, and who we learn is Fleur's sister, break the surface, and we hear Fleur say her first lines of the movie. In French. Harry almost drowns and then flies up to the surface with a spell that we will never see used again. Dumbledore declares that all the judges need to confer now. Fleur thanks Harry for saving her sister and kisses him on the cheek. Then, because Ron helped her swim back, he also gets a cheek kiss, and it leaves an impression on him.
Mercy.
I wonder why. And why was she so grateful? Would you get out of here? Harry was second to last because Fleur was disqualified, but Dumbledore declares that since Harry would have won if he hadn't waited to see if everyone else made it, they're going to award him honorary second place for moral fiber. A couple of things about that. One, he really didn't wait that long. From reaching the prisoners to him leaving is 1 minute and 29 seconds. The time from when he grabs Ron to take him and waits for Fleur is 18 seconds. Even worse, they say that he would have won, but he was determined to rescue everyone else. I call bull. Harry unties Ron, turns around and sees Cedric swimming to where he rescues Cho and starts swimming up before Harry even grabs Ron. You could argue that his web digits would have helped him win, but that is still an assumption. Finally, how did Dumbledore know about any of this? I guess magic is a decent answer in this case. Also, why did Hermione tell Harry that Fleur got caught by the Grindylows?
Flan have got past the Grindylows.
Especially since Fleur just finished talking to him. Steve, is no one else allowed to give Harry information in this series unless the plot dictates it has to be them? Crouch asks for a word with Harry where he tries to bond with him because they both suffered loss. Who is Barry lost? We're not sure. But the actor suddenly learns to act, so it feels like a decent scene. Again though, why is this here? We learn nothing other than Barty lost someone, but there's nothing that this explains, and no hint that it gives, and no real connection that it builds, and we receive more complete information later that didn't need any setup. It's completely pointless, other than we need Harry near Crouch for what happens next. Moody interrupts, and this is so stupid. And I know that it had to have been Newell's idea, and I imagine he had to force Gleason and Tennant to do it with a gun. Moody licks his lips like a frog, and Crouch looks at him full of shock and confusion. We then cut to Hagrid walking through the forest with the trio, and he's apparently drunk.
The youngest Triwizard champion there's ever been! Hooray!
And reminiscing about the time that he first met them.
I remember when I first met you all. Biggest bunch of misfits I ever set eyes on.
And seems to be implying that he met them all at the same time, which Newell might think is the case. While this is happening, Harry finds Crouch dead in the woods, after his scar hurts. This whole scene should be cut. It exists for the sole purpose of finding Crouch's body, and the lead up is Hagrid rambling nonsensically. Was there a table read? How many people didn't notice that this scene was stupid before they shot it? And after they shot it. Harry goes to Fumbledore's office, and Fumbledore is having a fight with Fudge about canceling the Triwizard Tournament while Moody watches, and I have no idea why Harry's here.
Who's to say? I feel like you should say.
Other than the plot said, Harry, go pensieve now! You could say that Harry was going to tell Fumbledore about Crouch, but Fumbledore clearly already knows.
A man has died here, Fudge.
And Harry is wearing different clothes, so that happened long enough ago that he had time to change. Maybe Fumbledore needs to talk to Harry about something. Nope, never brings up the reason he called him in. Maybe Harry needs to talk to him. Nope, never brings anything up. Just, Harry, go pensieve now. Moody tells them that Harry's outside and opens the door. They do that thing grown-ups do where they pretend that they weren't fighting. Fumbledore escorts Fudge out and tells Harry to wait there. He offers Harry a candy that bites him because Fumbledore is a shop vac, and Harry bangs against a cabinet that reveals the pensieve. Here's a suggestion. Just let Harry find the pensieve. Let's not have Fumbledore offer a student deadly candy. He doesn't even bang it open. He bumps into it, and it opens on a delay. Harry stares into the pensieve and falls into a courtroom where no one can see him. Karkaroff is pulled up in a cage and is giving information about his fellow Death Eaters and who they were. One of the names he says is Snape. And then it gets stupid. Fumbledore says out loud that he has given information to the Ministry that Snape was a Death Eater but was acting as a spy before Voldemort was destroyed, and that cleared his name. This would make that public record. We see young Rita Skeeter in the courtroom, so the press knows about it, and that makes it public knowledge that Snape was a spy against Voldemort. Why on earth would Voldemort take him back in the later movies? Not now. I'm too depressed to even look at you. Karkaroff is desperate to give names and get himself released, and announces that he knows who tortured Neville's parents, which is how we find out that happened to them. That's all the detail that it gets, and if you don't make the connection that Frank Longbottom is Neville's dad, then this moment loses any impact that its rushed nature might have had, and was probably completely incapable of to begin with. But the person who did it is the person in Harry's dream and Crouch's son, Barty Jr. I guess he got the nickname Wormtail later. But we then see him do the same tongue thing Moody did very recently while David Tennant gives the worst performance of his career. I don't even know what direction you have to give David Tennant to get a bad performance out of him. It's like telling a peacock, don't fan out your feathers.
I'm a peacock! You gotta let me fly!
Threat of physical force had to be involved, right? Crouch disowns his son, and Harry leaves the pensieve, and Fumbledore is standing next to it, staring at heaven only knows what. For a long time. He tells Harry that he's trying to find some detail that explains all the bad things that have been happening recently, which is an odd phrase to come from someone who knows Voldemort will come back. Yeah, it's just so bad. Harry tells him that he saw Wormtail in his dream.
I was in a house, and Voldemort was there, and Wormtail was there, Mr. Crouch's son.
What do you mean, Wormtail and Mr. Crouch's son? Isn't he Wormtail?
And Wormtail was there too.
No, that's Pettigrew. What's happening here? I think that I've made my point, so I'll stop now. Harry asks if the dreams are actually happening. We know that they're not actually happening, because the last one couldn't happen since BJ was at Hogwarts at the time. Dumbledore advises him to not give the dreams too much thought, because human straw gonna human straw. I'm saying he